Welcome to Hired in IT. Our mission is simple: help you build the skills that employers actually want. Whether you're trying to land your first IT job, switch careers, earn a promotion, or increase your salary, we're here to help. Every video is thoroughly researched and designed to make complex IT topics easy to understand. If there's an IT topic you'd like us to cover, leave a comment below. We may turn your suggestion into our next video. Turning IT knowledge into career opportunities. It's 3 a.m. at a hospital, and computers across the organization suddenly begin locking up. Patient records are inaccessible. Medication workflows are disrupted. Critical systems may be affected. A ransom note appears. Now the clock is running. But there isn't one person called the cybersecurity professional who handles everything. A SOC analyst may be reviewing the first alerts and determining which systems are affected. Incident responders may work to contain the attack. Digital forensic specialists may preserve evidence and reconstruct what happened. Security engineers may help isolate systems and strengthen defenses. Risk and security leaders may help the organization make difficult business decisions. And after the incident, security architects may help redesign parts of the environment so the same weaknesses are harder to exploit again. That's the first thing to understand about a cybersecurity career. Cybersecurity isn't one job. It's a collection of very different careers solving different parts of the security problem. Some roles investigate, some build, some test, some manage risk. Some protect cloud or industrial systems, and some design the entire security strategy. In this video, we're going to explore 9 of those career paths so you can start answering a much more useful question than, how do I get into cybersecurity? The better question is, which cybersecurity problems do I actually want to learn how to solve? By the end of this video, you'll be able to do 3 things. First, you'll understand 9 cybersecurity roles, what the people in those jobs actually do, the skills they use, the most common entry points, and the credentials employers often request. Second, you'll be able to compare current salary information the right way. That means looking at your location, your experience level, and the type of employer, not believing that one number on the internet guarantees what you will earn. Third, you'll be able to choose a practical next step. Maybe that is a feeder role in IT support. Maybe it is a lab, a certification, a portfolio project, or an application for a junior security role. The goal is not to pick a title because it sounds impressive. The goal is to pick a direction, build evidence that you can do the work, and keep moving toward it. Here is why learning these paths matters. Cybersecurity hiring changes by city, industry, and experience level, so ignore anyone who tells you every security job is easy to get. Entry-level roles can be competitive, especially when candidates have no technical foundation or practical work to show. But the long-term signal remains strong. In the United States, the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects employment for information security analysts to grow much faster than average over the current 10-year outlook. Its occupation-wide pay data is useful context, but it is not a promise for a first SOC job or for every cybersecurity title. That is why this video uses 2 kinds of information. The first is the role map, what work each path actually involves. The second is current local evidence, job postings, workforce data, salary data, and the skills employers are asking for where you want to work. Companies do not hire cybersecurity in the abstract. They hire people to investigate alerts, secure cloud systems, manage risk, test authorized environments, build defenses, and lead programs. The clearer you are about which problem you want to solve, the easier it is to build toward the right role. Here is the part many people do not hear. Cybersecurity is often a second-step career. Many professionals begin by learning how computers, users, networks, and business systems work in roles such as IT support, help desk, desktop support, network operations, systems administration, or junior security operations. Those jobs are not a failure to get into cybersecurity. They are places where you build the troubleshooting habits security teams rely on. You learn to verify whether a host responds, trace a network path, resolve a domain name, read a ticket, explain a problem to a user, and document what happened. A degree can help, and some employers require one, but it is not the only way to build a credible path. Certifications, hands-on labs, work experience, personal projects, and clear communication can all strengthen your candidacy. The real mistake is not starting in help desk. The mistake is staying in any feeder role without a transition plan. Pick a target role, study the skills that appear in its job postings, build a small portfolio of evidence, ask for relevant tasks at work, and apply before you feel completely ready. Before you pick a role, you need 6 transferable skills: networking, operating systems, cloud, scripting, security tools, and communication. For each one, here is a week 1 action you can start tonight. Run a traceroute to watch your traffic hop across the internet. Spin up a free Linux virtual machine in VirtualBox. Check whether your cloud provider offers a free tier or trial, and complete 1 beginner lab. Automate 1 small task in Python or Bash. Use a packet capture tool like Wireshark to capture some traffic on your own device. Then write a 1-paragraph plain English summary of a tech incident. And the 3 most common feeder roles into these skills are help desk, network administrator, and systems administrator. Quick checkpoint. Question 1. Do you need a 4-year degree before you can begin building cybersecurity skills or applying for every cybersecurity role? No. Some employers and some positions require a degree. Others place significant value on relevant experience, certifications, demonstrated technical skills, and your ability to communicate clearly. So don't interpret that answer as degrees don't matter. The lesson is, don't wait for a degree, a perfect resume, or permission to start building relevant skills. Question 2. Name 3 common feeder paths into cybersecurity. A strong answer is IT support or help desk, systems administration, and network operations or network administration. You may also see people transition from a desktop support, cloud operations, technical support, software development, or other technical roles. Question 3. Should your goal be to collect as many cybersecurity certifications as possible? No. Start with the role you want. Open current job postings for that role. Identify the skills, tools, experience, and certifications that repeatedly appear. Then build toward those requirements. The title of your first job matters less than whether that job helps you develop transferable skills. Learn the fundamentals, build something, document what you did, and keep moving toward a specific target role. Now the fun part, the map. These are 9 cybersecurity career paths, but they are not all entry-level jobs. Some are early career destinations. Some are specializations you grow into after building a technical foundation. And some are leadership or design roles that usually require years of experience. The 9 paths are 1. SOC Analyst, the person who monitors and investigates alerts. 2. Digital Forensics and Incident Response Analyst, often called DFIR, the person who preserves evidence and reconstructs what happened. 3. Penetration Tester, the authorized tester who finds and explains security weaknesses. 4. OT or ICS, Security Analyst or Engineer, the specialist who protects the technology that runs physical processes such as manufacturing, water, energy, and transportation. 5. Security Engineer, the builder who turns security requirements into working controls. 6. GRC or Information Risk Analyst, the translator who connects technical risk, policy, compliance, and business decisions. 7. Cloud Security Engineer, the specialist who helps secure cloud identities, configurations, workloads, data, and automation. 8. Security Manager, the leader responsible for people, priorities, budgets, and the security program. 9. Security Architect, the senior designer who turns business, needs, and threats into a coherent security blueprint. On screen, keep this map visible throughout the video. Each role card should show 4 things: the typical work, a realistic entry point, the skills to build first, and current salary and certification data for the viewer's selected market. You do not need to choose today. By the end, you should know which problems you would enjoy solving and what evidence you need to build next. Meet the SOC Analyst, one of the roles commonly associated with entering defensive cybersecurity. Your first hour might look something like this. A login alert fires because an employee's account attempted to sign in from a country they have never visited. Your job isn't to immediately declare, "We've been hacked." Your job is to investigate. You examine the source IP address. You compare the activity against the user's normal sign-in behavior. You look for related authentication events. You may check threat intelligence and other security telemetry. Then you make a decision based on the evidence. Close the alert as expected or benign activity, continue investigating, or escalate it as a potential incident. That investigate, document, decide, and escalate loop is at the center of a lot of SOC work. If you're trying to break into defensive cybersecurity, SOC Analyst is one of the job titles worth researching. But read the requirements carefully. A position may be described as entry-level and still ask for previous IT experience, networking knowledge, operating system fundamentals, cloud exposure, or familiarity with security tools. That's why your help desk, systems, networking, cloud, or home lab experience can matter. The goal isn't simply to say, "I know cybersecurity." It's to show that when an alert appears, you can gather evidence, think logically, document what you found, and make a defensible decision. Here is the career shift that makes SOC work valuable. At level 1, you may spend much of the day triaging alerts, gathering context, documenting findings, closing false positives, and escalating the incidents that need deeper attention. With experience, you can move into more complex incident response, detection engineering, threat hunting, or specialized areas such as cloud or identity security. The work changes from "what happened" to "how do we find this earlier, prevent it, or make the detection better?" The salary card on screen is a comparison tool, not a guarantee. Entry-level SOC pay, senior analyst pay, and incident response pay can differ sharply by location, shift work, clearance requirements, employer, and the responsibilities of the role. Compare current local postings and source-dated workforce data before you set expectations. The skills that make you promotable are consistent, strong investigation notes, sound technical judgment, better questions, and the ability to explain your evidence clearly. Imagine a fired employee's laptop sitting in an evidence bag. On it are contracts they may have tried to delete before leaving. A digital forensics analyst can help piece together what happened, but only if the drive isn't contaminated first. That's why investigators keep a careful record of who handles the device and when. The process often looks like this. Acquire the evidence without changing it. Authenticate the copy with a hash, a digital fingerprint that changes if even one bit changes. Rebuild the timeline of activity, then report exactly what the files show. Now the part beginners get wrong. In many forensic procedures, examiners avoid plugging a suspect drive directly into a normal computer because the operating system might write to it and alter timestamps or file indexes. A common best practice is to use a write blocker, a device or software that helps reduce the chance of altering the original, and then work from a copy, not the original. You can create a bit-for-bit image of the drive and analyze that copy. For hands-on practice, look for a reputable digital forensics tool and run it against a test disk image. Download it only from the official source and verify the current license and documentation. Quick checkpoint before we switch from defensive roles to offensive roles. You've got a suspect drive on the desk. What precaution helps protect the original evidence before you examine it? The answer: many examiners use a write blocker and analyze a copy instead of the original. Penetration testing is one of the cybersecurity careers beginners recognize most often. But here's the reality. The hands-on attack work is only part of the job. A professional penetration tester works within an authorized scope, identifies weaknesses, validates risk where appropriate, documents evidence, explains the business impact, recommends remediation, and presents those findings to the client or internal team. Finding a vulnerability that nobody understands how to fix isn't enough. Communication matters. Reporting matters. Understanding the environment matters. And penetration testing is also one of the roles beginners frequently target before building the technical foundation underneath it. Strong penetration testers typically understand networking, Windows and Linux, authentication, web applications, common infrastructure, scripting, and how defensive security controls work. Why? Because it's difficult to identify abnormal behavior if you don't understand normal systems. Many testers use tools such as Nmap during authorized assessments. An early step might be identifying reachable systems, open ports, and exposed service versions, then preserving that information as part of the assessment evidence. But don't measure your pen testing ability by how many offensive tools you have installed. Tools change. The underlying skills last much longer. Learn networking. Learn operating systems. Understand authentication. Learn how applications communicate. Practice scripting. Learn how defenders detect suspicious activity. Then use security tools to apply those fundamentals. That's what turns someone who can run a scanner into someone who can perform a professional security assessment. Pen testing has a rhythm. Start with authorization in writing that clearly defines what you're allowed to test. Then move through reconnaissance, exploitation, documentation, and the client readout. The big beginner mistake is running scans against systems you don't have permission to test because you're curious. Depending on where you are, that may have legal consequences, and it's never a career move. Practice in sandbox platforms that are built for this kind of learning, and verify their current terms before you start. Now let's look at a specialization where the consequences are physical. Imagine a water treatment plant where someone remotely changes a chemical dosing system, or a manufacturer where a compromised control system stops a production line. In operational technology, or OT, and industrial control systems, or ICS, cybersecurity affects processes that move water, manufacture products, generate electricity, and operate transportation systems. The people who work in this area may be called OT security analysts, ICS security engineers, industrial cybersecurity engineers, or critical infrastructure security specialists. Their job is not just to protect data. It is to reduce cyber risk without disrupting a system that people depend on. They work with engineers, operators, vendors, and IT teams to understand the environment, segment networks, manage remote access, monitor suspicious behavior, and plan changes carefully. This is usually not a first job in cybersecurity. It is a specialization where networking, systems administration, industrial process knowledge, and careful change management all matter. In traditional IT security, confidentiality, integrity, and availability are all important. In many OT and ICS environments, human safety and operational continuity can take priority over confidentiality, because a poorly planned security action can interrupt a physical process. That does not mean security is optional. It means security work has to respect the environment. A plant controller is not a disposable test server. Before changing a control, scanning a device, or deploying a new tool, teams assess the operational impact and follow the organization's approved process. If this path interests you, start by building a strong base in networking, Windows and Linux administration, identity, and segmentation. Then learn how industrial environments differ from enterprise IT. Study current industrial security guidance. Learn the vocabulary of the operators and engineers, and practice only in authorized labs or training environments. Now we move from investigating security problems to building defenses. Imagine a fintech company preparing to launch a new application. Before it handles its first customer transaction, the company needs logging, encryption, secure authentication, appropriate access controls, network protections, vulnerability management, secrets management, and monitoring. Someone has to turn those security requirements into working technical controls. That's where the security engineer comes in. A security engineer might work on identity and privileged access controls. They may deploy or tune endpoint security tools. They might integrate security logs into a SIEM. They may help remediate vulnerabilities. They could build network security controls, manage secrets and encryption, automate security configurations, or create guardrails that prevent insecure systems from being deployed. The exact work varies enormously between organizations. But here's a useful way to remember the role. An analyst primarily investigates. An engineer primarily builds and operates security controls. An architect primarily designs how major security capabilities should fit together. Those aren't rigid boundaries and real jobs overlap. But the distinction is useful when you're choosing a career direction. Security engineering also requires more than knowing security products. You need to understand the technology you're protecting. If you're securing identity, understand identity. If you're securing cloud infrastructure, understand cloud infrastructure. If you're protecting endpoints, understand operating systems. If you're building network controls, understand networking. The engineering workflow often looks something like this. Understand the requirement, identify the threat, design an appropriate control, implement it, test it, monitor it, improve it. That's why security engineering can be such a powerful career path. You're not just reacting to attacks. You're building systems that make successful attacks more difficult in the first place. Checkpoint. In an OT and ICS environment, is the top priority confidentiality, or is it something else? Think about a water plant or a power grid. The answer is that operational continuity and human safety generally outweigh strict confidentiality, because locking down systems too tightly can stop critical processes or put people at risk. Certifications can help a hiring manager understand where you have focused your learning. But no certification replaces practical evidence that you can troubleshoot, investigate, document, and communicate. Start with the role, then choose the credential. For a broad technical foundation, a certification such as CompTIA Security Plus is a common starting point. For analyst and blue team paths, employers may also value security operations, incident response, or detection-focused credentials. For cloud security paths, build cloud fundamentals first. Then consider provider-specific credentials that match the platform you want to work with. For risk and governance roles, learn the frameworks and requirements relevant to the industry. Audit, risk, and compliance-focused credentials can become more useful once you have context and experience. For senior architecture, management, and leadership roles, credentials such as CISSP or CISM may appear often in job descriptions, but they are experienced professional credentials, not a beginner shortcut. The rule is simple: do not collect badges randomly. Open 10 current job postings for your target role and location. Write down the recurring certifications, skills, tools, and experience requirements. Then choose the next credential that closes a real gap. A bank vice president looks at a $200,000 line item for cyber risk transfer, basically insurance, and asks why exactly he should pay for it. The information risk analyst answers in dollars, not jargon. Identify the asset. List what threatens it, what weakness a threat could use, and how likely and costly that loss would be. Then present the options to leadership. You are the translator between technical reality and business money. Most information risk and GRC work involves spreadsheets, policies, evidence, governance workflows, and conversations with technical and business teams, not staring at a firewall all day. 3 names often come up, but they are not the same thing. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework is a voluntary framework that helps organizations organize cybersecurity outcomes and risk management activities. ISO IEC 27001 is an international standard for an information security management system. Organizations can use it to establish and operate a formal information security management program and may pursue certification against the standard. HIPAA is a United States federal law with implementing regulations that establish requirements affecting protected health information for covered entities and their business associates. HIPAA is not a general-purpose cybersecurity framework for every organization. A good risk analyst understands these distinctions. But the job isn't simply memorizing framework names or checking boxes. The real work is asking, what are we trying to protect? What could go wrong? How likely is it? What would the business impact be? What controls already exist? What additional controls would reduce the risk? And what remaining risk is leadership willing to accept? The risk analyst helps translate technical conditions into business decisions. That's what makes GRC a cybersecurity career, not paperwork sitting outside cybersecurity. Cloud security is a career path, not just a technology topic. A cloud security engineer helps secure the identities, configurations, workloads, data, networks, and automation an organization operates in a cloud environment. Imagine starting your morning by reviewing an alert that an account has excessive permissions. Later, you discover a storage resource with more network exposure than intended. In the afternoon, you update infrastructure as code, so the insecure configuration can't simply be deployed again tomorrow. That's the difference between understanding cloud security concepts and working in cloud security. One of the most important concepts to understand is shared responsibility. The cloud provider is generally responsible for protecting the underlying cloud infrastructure. The customer remains responsible for many aspects of what it configures and operates in that environment. That can include identities, permissions, data, applications, network configurations, workload security, logging, and many service-specific security settings. But the exact boundary changes depending on the provider and the service you're using. That's why the wrong question is cloud security handled by the provider? The better question is, for this specific cloud service and this specific security control, who is responsible? If cloud security interests you, build strong fundamentals in identity and access management, networking, logging, encryption, workload security, and infrastructure as code. Then choose one major cloud platform and learn its security capabilities deeply enough to build and troubleshoot them. Cloud security isn't about memorizing the names of hundreds of cloud services. It's about understanding security principles well enough to apply them in an environment where infrastructure can change with a few lines of code. If you want to demonstrate cloud security skills, don't stop at earning a credential. Build something you can explain. Here's a simple portfolio lab concept. Create a small test environment in a cloud account that you control. Set strict cost limits and follow the provider's current documentation. Then review that environment like a security engineer. Start with identity. Does the workload have more permissions than it actually needs? If so, reduce them. That's least privilege. Next, review network exposure. Which services are reachable? Should they be reachable from the public internet? Restrict unnecessary access. Then look at logging. Can you determine who changed the resource? Can you see authentication activity? Would you have enough information to investigate a security event? Next, examine how sensitive information is handled. Are secrets stored appropriately? Is encryption configured where required? Now, make an improvement. Don't just click the fix and move on. Document the environment before the change. Explain the risk you identified. Implement the control. Verify that it works. Then, document the environment after the change. Your portfolio project might contain the architecture, the security problem, the risk, the remediation, screenshots or configuration evidence, and a short explanation of how you verified the result. That's much stronger evidence than saying, "I watched a cloud security course." You're showing an employer, "I found a security problem. I understood the risk. I implemented a control, and I verified the outcome." That's what security engineering looks like. Quick check. In a typical cloud setup, who is generally responsible for the data and access you configure? The exact split depends on the provider and service, so always verify in current documentation. In many models, you as the customer are responsible for what you put into the cloud. Moving from a technical contributor into security management is often a career change, not simply a promotion. A security manager may still understand the technology, but the core responsibility changes. You own priorities, staffing, hiring, budgets, performance, vendor relationships, and the translation of technical risk into decisions that executives can act on. The mistake organizations sometimes make is promoting their strongest analyst without giving that person management training or support. Great technical work and great people leadership are different skills. If management interests you, start building those skills before you get the title. Write clear proposals. Mentor someone. Lead a small project. Learn how your team plans work and measures outcomes. Practice explaining risk in business language without hiding the technical facts. Management compensation can be strong, but it varies widely by market, company size, and scope of responsibility. The additional pay reflects accountability for people, strategy, and results, not just more time spent at a keyboard. Now let's talk salary honestly. There is no single cybersecurity salary. An entry-level SOC analyst, a senior cloud security engineer, and a security architect may all work in the same city, but earn very different amounts because their experience, scope, industry, and responsibility are different. The role cards on screen show current, source-dated compensation estimates for this market. Treat them as guideposts, not guarantees. Your actual offer can change with geography, cost of living, shift work, clearance requirements, company size, bonuses, equity, and whether the job is truly entry-level. For broad U.S. context, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports an occupation-wide median for information security analysts. That figure covers a wide range of experience levels and responsibilities. It is not an entry-level salary, and it does not represent every cybersecurity role in this video. Here is the comparison habit to build. First, look at the role. Second, look at the local market. Third, look at the experience and skills the job requires. Fourth, compare several reputable sources and current job postings before you negotiate or plan your career around a number. Salary matters. But do not choose a path only because its highest possible number looks impressive. Choose a path where you can keep building valuable skills for years. A security architect is a senior design role. Picture a healthcare company growing from 1 office to 10. It now has remote employees, cloud services, SaaS applications, sensitive patient information, third-party vendors, mobile devices, and hundreds or thousands of identities. Someone has to determine how identity, network controls, endpoint protection, logging, encryption, privileged access, cloud security, incident response, and third-party services should fit together. That's the security architect. The architect creates the security blueprint and helps technical teams make consistent security decisions as the organization changes. Here's a useful distinction. A security analyst might investigate suspicious activity occurring in the environment. A security engineer might implement and operate many of the controls protecting that environment. The security architect determines how major controls should fit together as part of the overall design. Again, real organizations overlap these responsibilities. But the mental model is useful. The analyst investigates. The engineer builds. The architect designs across systems. Architects also make trade-offs. The most secure theoretical design may be too expensive. Another design may make an application impossible for employees to use. A control may improve security while reducing availability. Another may introduce operational complexity that the organization cannot realistically support. Security architecture is about balancing those constraints without losing sight of the threats you're trying to address. That's why architects don't usually begin as architects. They typically build experience in areas such as systems administration, networking, cloud, security engineering, risk, identity, or incident response. Over time, they learn not just how individual technologies work, but how systems interact. If security architecture is your long-term goal, don't rush to collect an architect title. Build depth somewhere first. Then expand your breadth. Learn how systems connect. Learn to threat model designs. Learn to communicate trade-offs. And practice turning security requirements into architectures that engineers can actually build. Final checkpoint. A company is moving major applications into the cloud. One person is responsible for determining how identity, network segmentation, logging, encryption, privileged access, endpoint protection, cloud controls, and incident response capabilities should fit together across the environment. Which role most closely owns that overall blueprint? Security architect. Now the architecture has been approved. Someone needs to implement many of those controls, integrate the security tooling, automate configurations, test the protections, and keep them operating. Which role? Security engineer. Later, an alert fires because an account begins behaving suspiciously. Someone gathers evidence, reviews the activity, documents the findings, and decides whether the alert should be closed or escalated. Which role? Security analyst. Remember, analysts investigate. Engineers build and operate controls. Architects design how major controls fit together. Real jobs overlap, but understanding those differences will help you read job descriptions and choose the skills you actually need to build. Here is what you should be able to do now. You can name the 9 paths and explain the kind of problem each role solves. You understand that SOC Analyst, Forensics, Pentesting, OT Security, Security Engineering, Risk and GRC, Cloud Security, Management, and Architecture have different entry points and different timelines. Now choose one role to explore for the next 30 days. Open 10 current job postings for that role in the location where you want to work. Make a simple list of the recurring skills, tools, experience requirements, and certifications. Pick one gap you can close this month. If you need a feeder role, that is fine. Take the support, systems, network, operations, or junior security opportunity that builds relevant skills. But set a transition goal, a lab you will complete, a project you will document, a skill you will practice at work, and a date when you will begin applying for the next role. A degree, a certification, a lab, or a portfolio project is not a guaranteed job offer. Together, they can become credible evidence that you are ready for the next conversation. Next up in the Job-Ready IT Roadmap, the CIA Triad and Core Security Principles, the foundation behind every later security decision. Grab the free career guide below, subscribe, and I will see you in Part 2. Remember, careers aren't built by watching videos. They're built by applying what you learn. Pick one thing from today's lesson, build it, document it, and share it. That's how you get hired. Thanks for watching Hired in IT, where we're turning IT knowledge into career opportunities.